Georgia, Mr. Collins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the opportunity today to discuss the human cost of the current immigration law and what happens is when, for decades, the law is ignored both by Republicans and Democrat administrations and abused by those seeking to enter the United States at almost any cost. Together, these factors have undercut American sovereignty and the integrity of our generous immigration system. Unfortunately, actions can have damaging consequences, and now caravans of thousands of Central Americans are endangering themselves and others as they pursue entry, very often illegal entry, to the U.S. Fraud and abuse now is rampant in our asylum system, which is supposed to protect the vulnerable from persecution. Adults are delivering children into the hands of human traffickers while gangs of aliens violently assault the Border Patrol agents simply trying to keep Americans and migrants safe. The President once noted, "We have seen a significant rise in apprehensions and processing of children and individuals from Central America who are crossing into the United States in the Rio Grande Valley areas of the southwest border. These individuals who embark upon this journey are subject to violent crime, abuse, and extortion as they rely on dangerous human smuggling networks to transport them through Central America and Mexico." This was true when President Obama wrote this in a letter to Congress in June of 2014, and it remains true today. That summer, President Obama asked Congress for $3.7 billion in emergency supplemental appropriations to help address the border crisis, and the House Republicans passed such a bill. During that crisis, the Obama administration was doing the same thing that's happening today. They were apprehending illegal border crossers in the same way the Trump administration does today. They were detaining and processing the illegal entrants in the same facilities with the same chain link partitions where the Trump administration detains and processes them today. They were providing the same humanitarian relief, diapers, food, Mylar blankets, as the Trump administration provides today. Of course, none of that stops illegal border crossings because the perverse incentives to come to the U.S. illegally and to falsely claim asylum remain strong. To make the situation worse, a 2015 federal court ruling incorrectly interpreted the Flores settlement agreement. That ruling provided more incentive for aliens to come to the U.S. illegally since word got out that adults who bring a child with them across the border are guaranteed release into America's interior within a matter of days. The Obama administration rightly appealed the ruling but lost, leaving Congress the duty to act on what should be a bipartisan humanitarian policy, correcting the errant Flores ruling. So here we are 5 years later. Misguided policies, inconsistent enforcement, and limited resources have further fueled the humanitarian border crisis. Family unit apprehensions are up 280% over the same time last year, and overall apprehensions by Border Patrol are up 81%. Agents routinely see groups of 300 or more aliens enter together illegally as Central American caravans filled with family units, unaccompanied minors, and single adults have become the norm. My colleagues across the aisle have offered no solutions to secure the border and end the perverse incentives that cause children to be trafficked and abused on the journey north, or honor illegal immigrants by fighting the widespread abuse of the current system. Instead, we have seen abdication for mass legalization of illegal aliens, to abolish the entire law enforcement agency of ICE, and for legislation that would further hamstring any efforts to deter illegal entry and abuse of the immigration system and existing laws. Even today, hostility to the rule of law is on display. My colleagues had the opportunity to hold their first immigration-related hearing on a topic that would curb incentives for illegal immigration and remove incentives for parents to endanger their own children by paying murderous cartels to smuggle children across the U.S.-Mexico border. Instead, we have decided that the first immigration-related hearing would ignore every opportunity to protect Americans and our neighbors in favor of a political spectacle. None of that is helpful, and none of it represents a serious attempt to protect our sovereign borders, our citizens, and our neighbors to the south, and the rule of law. When he took office, President Trump applied the current law in good faith effort to deter illegal border crossings. In January 25, 2017, Immigration Enforcement Executive Order directed the Attorney General to prioritize prosecutions of offenses having a nexus to the southern border. The Attorney General and the DHS Secretary then implemented the zero tolerance policy, under which DHS would refer any alien who entered the country illegally along our southwest border to DOJ for prosecution under the code 1325A. DOJ would prosecute those aliens. The children accompanying those aliens who were being prosecuted became, by law, unaccompanied alien children and were placed in the custody of the Office of Refugee Resettlement and at the Department of HHS. I'm going to state personally, we must be fair. When we look back in this in hindsight, it is clear the system was not ready to handle a large number of children arriving at the border and separated from their parents. It was not handled in a way that could be fitting, and that was a mistake in the system. agents involved here made some mistakes. The administration could have and should have done a better job reuniting families for adult prosecutions. Today, we will hear from agencies involved in the zero tolerance policy about what they have done to ensure going forward, every child separated from their parent at the border is tracked and, if appropriate, reunited with that parent. But we should also talk about how Congress can stop incentivizing illegal entry. We should hear from the witnesses, especially Border Patrol and ICE, what resources and legislative changes they believe are necessary to end the humanitarian crisis and at our southern border and make interior safer for citizens and legal immigrants. We help no one here today by upholding the status quo. We cannot simply say and have a hearing on what is now without looking to the future, without saying what got us here, how do we get it fixed, and how do we have honest interpretations of who's held and who's not. When we do that, then we do a service to the American public, not only those who are seeking a better life as they come here, doing it legally, but also to make sure that our border is safe and those doing it. But Mr. Chairman, before I yield back my time, I want to recognize some members of our audience here today. We're going to hear a lot about separation and other things, and those are things that we do need to hear about. But with us in this room today are Mary Ann Mendoza, son, Police Sergeant Brandon Mendoza, who was killed by a criminal illegal alien who was driving while intoxicated. Steve Ronenbach, whose son, Grant Ronenbach, was killed by an illegal alien who, while working at a convenience store that the alien had decided to rob. And Marla Wolf, whose husband, FBI agent Carlos Wolf, was killed by a criminal illegal alien while he's standing next to his vehicle on the side of the road. Our immigration system, for those who have heard me speak before, is broken. It needs to be fixed. We cannot continue the perverse incentive to come illegally across our borders, and we need to fix the legal ways that we can make the country the greatest it is in the world, with open doors to those who want to do and come here to participate legally.